Alright guys, welcome to the Monday video. It's currently Monday morning and it's cold and wet and rainy. And if you're from this Minnesota, North Dakota area at all, we've really kind of got gypped out of a spring and now out of a summer. I mean, we didn't have a spring, it was like winter, and then all of a sudden it was summer, but it's not really summer because most of our days have been like this. We had 1 week, actually the week I was down in Kansas City, it was hotter than hell. I came back and like 2 days of hell, and then it got like this again. And almost every day has been like this. And it's like, I didn't know we lived in Alaska. Anyway, you guys, I'm on my way into work. We actually have another tool review we're going to be bringing you for the Monday weekly discussion. So we'll get going, we'll get some stuff done today, and then we'll bring you the tool review. So hang tight and we'll be right back. Alright guys, welcome back. So now we are going to get into our tool review. Before I do that quick though, I have a tiny little rant. A few weeks ago we were talking about mechanics getting a bad rap, technicians, whatever, and today we had a prime example of that. My uncle actually brought his Jeep in, and he had it at Tires Plus because he never wants to bother me with it, so he just took it there and let him put a water pump in it. It came back with half the bolts missing. So I looked at it and I'm like, well, it's making noise. It's making noise because the power steering pump bracket overlaps the water pump and those bolts are gone. Well, they couldn't get the bracket to line up, so I said, you need to call them and tell them you need to take it back, put 2 bolts in it. So he called them and they said, well, they didn't fit. Well, if it doesn't fit, that's your job to figure it out because they were in there before. He said, well, isn't that something you should have told me or fixed? And so when they did the water pump, they had to take the fan off, and there was 5 10 mil bolts. I noticed that one of them was new. So I said they probably lost one and just put a new bolt in there because they dropped it and couldn't find it, which is fine, it happens. But the service manager of Tires Plus said, you're just lucky we were nice enough to put another 10 mil bolt that your vehicle was missing in the fan. One, you probably lost it. I can almost guarantee you that that's what happened. And 2, even if you do something nice for someone, it doesn't mean you can hack the rest of their job. So I'm sorry, that's my rant. Anyway, on to the tool review of today. We are talking about the Pittsburgh Professional Low Profile Flex Head Ratchet. Right off the bat, you can see it's a pretty nice looking tool, has a nice chrome finish to it, similar to a lot of the nicer brands. The tooth count, as with a lot of their professional series ratchets, is actually pretty good. You can hear that. Pretty fine tooth count. I'm not saying it feels just like a snap-on or anything like that, because it definitely doesn't. It's definitely not quite that nice. But for the money, I think this was about $25. That's a pretty good deal. It has a pretty good feel. So it comes with one end being 3/8, you can see here, and the other end is a 1/4 inch. There's a button detent, which is very nice because when you're using the low pro flex head, it's generally because you're in a hard to reach spot, which means a tight spot, which means your socket can fall off fairly easily. So I do like that they included this detent button so your socket doesn't fall off. Nice flex head, stays in place rather nicely, and they have a torque spit bolt in there, so you could tighten this up if it gets loose. Same with the other end here. Now, I bought this tool from Harbor Freight for 2 different reasons. One, I haven't seen anything else on the market like this. I could be wrong, I have not looked that hard, but as far as I know, Snap-on, Matco, I have not seen one of these from them. And if they do make one, this is a tool that I don't use very often. It's really handy when I do need it. I actually needed it today. If you've ever worked on Toyotas, you work at a Toyota dealer, you know that heat shields go bad all the time. So this is actually one of my favorite tools for that because I can sneak this in there along with a semi-deep 10 mil and not have to take the exhaust down, and I can actually fit this in there. None of my other ratchets will fit in there with the socket on there. And if you use a short socket, it doesn't reach the nut over the stud. So a semi-deep socket paired up with this for those heat shields works rather nicely. Now, I bought this when I was working on a GMC Acadia. I was trying to get an airbag module, I believe, out, and whatever the module was, I don't remember exactly what it was. This was about 1.5 years ago. You were supposed to take the whole center console out and a bunch of the HVAC ducting, which is definitely something I didn't want to do. So I actually went to the store out of frustration. I went to Harbor Freight and I found this because someone else in the shop had one and he was gone, so I couldn't borrow it. And I picked this up for that job and it worked perfectly. Now, like I've said many times before, Harbor Freight, I think you have to gauge how often you're going to use the tool. Like I said, I don't know that if Snap-on or Mac made one of these, if I would buy it, because 1, it would probably be very expensive, and 2, it's not something I use enough to justify buying the more expensive brand. For the amount of time that I use this gets very light use. It works just fine. It doesn't feel as nice as a Snap-on or a Mac, but it does feel really nice for what it is. A couple things I don't like about this tool that you should maybe consider. One is, and this goes with it being low profile, it's part of the design, they do it on purpose. This handle is a lot like a snap-on wrench. If you have them, you know exactly what I mean. If you're really trying to reef on this thing, it like cuts into your hand because it is so thin. So that is one complaint. Again, part of the design. You're getting a super low profile ratchet for a reason, so it kind of needs to be that way, but it is very uncomfortable if you're putting any amount of torque on this thing. You feel like it's gonna cut right through your hand. The second thing, and this I really absolutely hate about this tool, is the switch right here. To switch it from tighten to loosen, this switch is like really hard to work. It just feels really awkward, and so when I want to switch it, you have to push it like just right. You have to get it at just the right angle for it to be able to be engaged. But it seems like every time I'm jammed up against something in a car, again, low profile, you need it when it's in a hard spot, it seems to very, very easily switch directions, bump this thing, and switch it. Which doesn't really make any sense to me, because when you want to do it with your fingers, it's very awkward. It's almost like it gets stuck in the middle. But as soon as it's up against an exhaust manifold or something like that, it just seems like you barely touch anything and it switches, and then you got to fish the thing out to switch it back. I'm nitpicking again, like I said, this being the only ratchet of this design that I have personally seen on the market. I'm just nitpicking this tool right now, but those are a few of the things that I don't like. So if you need something to get into hard to reach spots, this is a tool that I would absolutely recommend. They do make one that's shorter, it's about this long. I have that one as well, and they both come in handy. Like I said, I can't really speak to how they would hold up if they're used and abused every day, because it doesn't come out of my box that often. But it's one of those tools that when I need it, I'm really glad I have it. So you guys, this has been the Harbor Freight Professional Series Low Profile Flex Head Ratchet. Great tool when you need it, and I think for the money, it's a really, really good option. So if that's something you're looking into for a relatively inexpensive price, you can get a very versatile tool. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed this Monday discussion video, this little tool review. If you haven't already, consider subscribing, drop a comment down below, and hit that bell button so you're notified every time we upload a video and you don't miss any car content, tool content, car reviews, or the Mustang Fox Body build. We're going to be dropping another hint on that video, and the next hint's going to give away the entire plan. So you guys, with that, I'm going to close this video out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.